Welcome, friends, loyal listeners, and bears everywhere. This is the Sound Barrier, Northeast State's official podcast. And my name is Tom Wilson. I'm with the Office of Community Relations here at Northeast State. And today, for this episode, we are proud to welcome Ms. Nona Shepherd, Professor of English and Director of International Education here at Northeast State. Nona, welcome. How are you doing? How are you making it through this COVID-19 era?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Tom. Actually, I am teaching live Zoom and dual enrollment every day, 2 classes, and then 1 asynchronous class, and I think they're going pretty well. Particularly like with my asynchronous class, we're doing some video chats, so we're building community that way.
Sweet.
And then in my live Zoom, it's nice to build community even over Zoom, but talking every day has really made a difference. So yeah, we're doing pretty well so far.
Excellent. Now you and I have know each other from the East Tennessee State University Department of English graduate school days, correct?
Yeah, it's been a day, but yes.
It has indeed. It has, but no, fun. Mostly fun times. Yeah, in between frantic essay writing, yes. Oh, yes. Now, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of your connection here to Southern Appalachia. I know a Clinch Valley Community College, a sore spot. Not anymore, I know, but.
Actually, it never was. Actually, it never was a community college.
Oh, well.
And that's why it's a sore spot.
Fill us in on that.
Yeah. Well, my maternal grandparents had roots in Southwest Virginia. Because as a kid, actually, I lived in Northern Virginia and Maryland. We moved to Wise when I was 12. And yeah, I ended up at Clinch Valley College, which had always been a 4-year. And from there, I ended up grad school there at ETSU, as for you, Tom, as you referenced, and got my degree in literature and did some other, had some other jobs in the interim, and a friend of mine recommended trying out. Said, hey, if you're interested in teaching English on the college level, you should try out being an adjunct. And so I did that. William Wilson, our former dean in humanities.
Oh, yes.
Hired me on. Gosh, that's been about 16 years ago now, as an adjunct. And I applied a couple times before I got a full-time job teaching English here at the college. And eventually, about 9 or 10 years ago, I started getting involved with the statewide study abroad program, which then led to me teaching study abroad, which then led to me getting involved as international education got off the ground at Northeast State. And now I find myself chair of that program. So it's been kind of an interesting trail, an interesting journey to get where I am, but it's really cool. When I think about, my Appalachian roots, and I think about my love now of international travel, and sometimes people would see those as being different and not connected at all. But I think it's my deep roots in home, in our region, that for me, give me a place to come home to after I wander about around the world. So to me, they go hand in hand, but I know that may seem a little odd to some people.
Oh, well. Now, what was the international ed program like before did you kind of take it up, or did somebody suggest, hey, you need to start doing this? What was the status of it when you first got there?
Well, actually, here's the deal. We did not have an international ed fee at the time. So we had no international programming except cultural activities would do some here on campus. And so I was actually our first faculty member to teach study abroad, and I was by myself in that for a few years. And I'm pretty sure I was our first. I know we had offered it, but we didn't. I think that no one had decided to tack that on, add that hat to their repertoire there. And so when I came on, Dana Smithers had been the previous international ed chair and our representative for study abroad to the state. And when she had to step down, since she changed jobs, life change, then I said, hey, I would like to be our study abroad rep since I've taught study abroad. And they're like, oh, if you're study abroad rep, guess what comes with that? I'm like, what? And they're like, you get to be international ed chair. I'm like, oh, I will do my best. And now you have a budget because we just started. And so I was like, oh, great. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going. And honestly, that was like 4 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in a normal year, in a non-COVID year, we do trips, one trip a semester over the weekend for campus students. We do international food fairs. We keep doing different types of programming, virtual reality travel, and so really we had nothing. We built this up over the last 4 years. So yeah, we've kind of been developing as we go.
Now what's been, you said like in a normal year, unfortunately, what's been some of the more, what was like the first trip you all went on? We even say just within the continental United States. What's the first trip you all went on and enjoyed?
Yeah, actually the first trip that International Ed offered, and we still do it in a normal year, is Washington, D.C. And so we do internationally oriented activities there. Like we often go to the Holocaust Museum there in D.C. We usually do the American Indian, Smithsonian Museum of the American Indian. We'll go to the Asian art and the African art museums, so, and then students have free time too, but it was a one-night trip that first time, and now luckily we stay 2 nights. We were able to build it up to that. And this last spring, although we ended up having to cancel, we had 2 bus worth. We had enough people to take 2 buses.
Wow.
So our first trip, on which we had like 30 some people, we actually had like 69 signed up this past spring.
Holy cow, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's but disappointing.
I know, but we'll get back to it. We will.
69 people. That's really impressive to go from there.
I was pleased. And then we actually about 3 years ago in the fall, now we do Atlanta. And again, we do some internationally oriented stuff down there. And so last fall, not this fall, obviously, but last fall, I think I had 49 on that trip. And when we first did that, we only had like 32. So that's also growing. So each semester in a normal year, we try to do that trip to DC or Atlanta so far. And people seem to really, we charge students a nominal fee, like $30, and then they cover their food. And the rest of it, International Ed covers.
Nice. Great little opportunity.
Yes.
For students that want to get out there. They may not have a chance to go see some of those things otherwise.
And maybe they can't do international. Maybe they can't do study abroad, but we wanted to offer them an opportunity, that they could do in country and that we could do in a weekend. So we wanted it to be affordable and try to offer a good variety of students some opportunities like that.
Now, has there been any talk so far about international, any kind of travel to DC or Atlanta next spring? Is that all still on hold? Is it still too early to tell? Or what are our opportunities?
I'm hearing so far that we are the vibe I'm getting, not that I've gotten official word, but the vibe I'm getting so far is we're going to be in this mode for spring for International Ed. That we're going to be actually just be able to offer virtual events, which we're offering some this fall. So yeah, I don't know that we're quite ready to put 50 people on a bus for 6 or 7 hours all together and drive them up to DC together, So we're probably gonna, have to wait one more semester round before we can get back to business. But I think what I hope will happen is that will make people all the more eager to participate. That's my secret hope underneath all that.
I know another really popular event we've had, I think the last couple of years, is the International Food Day event, where we've had vendors come on campus and you get this great selection of very international foods. And talk a little bit about that and how you kind of connected with some of our local businesses to kind of make that happen and bring them onto campus.
Yeah, it's so cool. We started out, now my guinea pig campus was in Blountville. That I always guinea pig, test things out there, test ideas out there, because that's where my office is and it's easier. So gosh, that was probably, I think we did the first one of those. It might have been almost 4 years ago. So now we've expanded on the Blountville campus. We have like 8 restaurants, and they're our local restaurants from the area. And so they're people who are in our communities. Most of those who participate are actually, international. They have international heritage, either their generation or the generation just prior to theirs. And so they're the business owners and also often, the employees. And so they come and they offer their fare. And we actually have been able to expand that. The last couple of years, we've had international food fairs in Blountville, at Kechi, Elizabethton, and Johnson City campuses. And this past year, before we had to cancel, we had actually we're going to get ready to add RCAM to that as well. So when we're back to business, we'll have 5 international food fairs across the academic year between fall and spring semesters. And we do. Now, the smaller campuses usually will have 4, maybe 5 restaurants come instead of all 8. Mm-hmm. But students and faculty alike that's a great opportunity to try food you've never tried before. And, it's just like a little bite-sized option. So if you don't like it, it's not like you're wasting a bunch either. So it's always a popular event. And I love the fact that we can offer that to students and give them an opportunity to maybe try out their taste buds on something they would not usually venture out of their comfort zone to try.
Yeah. And they're college students, they gotta get food when they can because it's.
That's right. Yeah, we remember even in grad school, free food was free food, right?
That's it. Yes, without a doubt. Now, for the students who've gone on trips to DC and they've got to experience that, and to Atlanta, when they come back, what have they said about the experience, and just from kind of you working with them, what have been some of the advantages of having that international education experience?
I think as we head back from those events, from those excursions, what I hear students often talk about is, one, they may not have been able to afford that, and they were so grateful for the opportunity to do that in a way that fit their budget. So that, I'm always so grateful for that. And so many of them are like, wow, I want to come back here. Or there's so much I didn't see in DC. I'm going to have to convince my family or friends that we've got to come up for a weekend. Others I hear, like, they might not have done that on their own, but going with a group and with faculty, staff, guides who have their backs and are there to support them. Right. And are there to help out if anything goes wrong, that gives them a comfort zone or gives them a safety net that makes that kind of travel possible. I think it emboldens students a little bit to be willing to travel some more outside what they might normally do. Some of my favorite stories are, I remember one, I can't remember which trip it was because, after a while. But one morning we were leaving for DC. We usually leave at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, right? And so I had a couple students from one of our smaller campuses, and they were getting ready to get on the bus, and they said, wow, well, just last week we took our first drive ever to, I think it was like to Kingsport or something. And that's the farthest they'd ever driven. And I was like, oh, honey, get on the bus. On the bus, right? We're going to DC, get on the bus. And I loved it. And I love that, and yeah. I think that they just soaked it up. I think students who haven't traveled much, they get an opportunity to learn more about themselves too, Tom. I mean, they learn that they can figure out where they're going, when they're leaving their hotel to go, hey, let's go explore this place to eat that sounds pretty cool that's near our hotel. They figure that out. They find friends, they go do that, and they gain confidence in themselves. And I think that's amazing.
Oh, truly, without a doubt. Yeah, you got to break out of the old comfort zone. Get your weight into the world. Absolutely. Now to shift gears a little bit, you've been an English professor for some time, I know, and when everything happened in spring and everything got suspended, we all went online. What was your initial reaction to that, and how did the students in your classes back in spring kind of respond to that?
Yeah.
I think
there was a lot of anxiety, I think, initially. I think that students were nervous about, well, what happens now? How am I going to know what to do? How do we proceed and make progress? You know, how do we finish out this class or these classes, right? For me, I kind of took a step back and I was like, okay, so how do I create the online space for what were face-to-face classes in such a way that it feels much like the same sort of progress we would make in the classroom, right?
Right.
And so I sat down and I said, okay, if this is for literature classes, right? In spring I was teaching all mythology because I had some release time for international ed. So the 3 classes I was teaching, I was on different campuses teaching that. And I was like, so here's what we would be reading. Let me record videos for those, right, and make sure the handouts are there. And, you know, and we did the tests and I revised the schedule, adjusted the readings a little bit to say, okay, yeah, we've lost a week, so let's just adapt. And I adjusted some stuff. And I felt like for the most part, I mean, most of my students were able to successfully finish their courses. I mean, some people struggled and weren't able to do that. And I told them, I said, that's not about you. You know, you were put in an unprecedented situation. So don't let that be a reflection on who you are.
Right.
But that's a situation of circumstance. But you know, most of my students, you know, were able to get through the course material and successfully, you know, earn credit in those classes.
Now, I know you you teach dual enrollment. You teach at some of our local high schools as well, teaching the high school students. Was there a difference at all in how the high school students, because we always hear how, oh yeah, kids coming up are so savvy with education and technology. Was there a difference in how the high school students responded in some kind of difference of how the college students kind of took on the online learning, not only back in spring, but now as we've come into this fall semester, because I know you're also doing dual enrollment again this fall. Yeah, and I don't teach dual enrollment in the spring, so I'm not sure how that worked for them. But I have this is I think it's my 15th year teaching dual enrollment at one of our local high schools, and yeah, here's what's interesting. And I've been working with seniors in high school for a long time now, and I think, and this is just my personal opinion, what I've discovered is we think they're tech savvy, and this is no knock on them. I've actually talked with my current dual enrollment students about this as well. And what's interesting is there's a divide in terms of the tech savviness from what I can ascertain. In terms of phone, my dual enrollment students can do anything you want them to with their smartphone. Oh my gosh, they run circles around me, okay, with their smartphone savviness. Where I see the divide, and I think that perhaps college institutions make assumptions, is that I think what I see with my dual enrollment students is with their PC knowledge, their knowledge of their laptop or their computer. Most of them are dealing with laptops. They are kind of on the same level most of the time as my students on campus, to be honest. When we're dealing with whether it's formatting in Microsoft Word or how to do screenshots of source copies and stuff like that, I still find that I have to provide the same guidelines and the same assistance with my dual enrollment students most of the time that I do on campus. So smartphones, oh my gosh, they hands down, they win, right? My dual enrollment students. Computer tech, that is, they're on the same level. There's still quite a bit for them to learn there. Sure.
And they've adapted pretty well. Sorry, I know that was the other part of your question. I just remembered. But they've adapted pretty well. At first, my dual enrollment classes this semester, everyone was at home because we were in the red zone.
Right.
And so they had to log in, and we were doing partial, asynchronous, partial. We met twice a week live, and they were logging in, they were doing their thing, and we were fine. Then half of them went back half the week, and the other half. So we were still doing Zoom Live, and we're still Zoom Live even though they're back in the classroom. They do well, you know. They respond, they engage, they chat. They're getting more comfortable finally in week 8 of unmuting themselves while they're in the classroom. They don't like to do that. Today, one group wanted to sing "Happy Birthday" to one of their members, but we were terrible at it, so we apologized for our sad attempt at doing that as a class via Zoom. And but yeah, I think that they've adjusted okay to that, because I think it's all a matter of, and this isn't about me, but I think that whoever is the facilitator of the class, the instructor, the professor of the class, really sets the tone, and that's important.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely it is. Now, from all this experience, what needs to be improved in the delivery of, what needs to be improved from the professor's point of view as far as delivering content to students online in a better way? And has it kind of, or has it changed you as a professor? Let me ask you that question first. Has it changed how you teach as a professor? And do you think once we go back into classes, what are any lessons that you've learned over the last several months going to be translated when you go back into the classroom?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, that's a question that my friends and I, even those in other professions, talk about. What are we going to, through this experience? Like my best friend owns her own business. She's an animal behavioral consultant, right? So she mainly takes on aggressive dog cases, and she wasn't seeing clients. She was doing a lot of consultations online via Zoom. And so she and I, we were discussing this sort of question. What do we do? What can we take away from this and make us even better at our jobs? And a few things for me, Tom. One, this summer I taught online. Since I wasn't teaching study abroad, I said, yeah, please, I'd love to teach an online class, teach this summer. And it's a class I've taught many times, but I changed, for example, the way I organized my content to make it a little more streamlined, to make what I thought was already an accessible class in terms of finding activities and assignments and all that. I tried to make that even easier and more effective, kind of like a one-stop shop for students, so they didn't have to look different places. And I know some other faculty may have already done that, but that was a change that I made. I was like, what can I do to make this even more, not the class content easier, but that they wouldn't get frustrated, students wouldn't, trying to find their materials that they needed for the class. So I reorganized how I presented that, okay? And I do the online office hours that I do now, because I am teaching from home. When we go back to regular, I think during office hours, I'm going to retain that. So that students, because I often teach on 2 or 3 campuses every semester. And, if a student in Elizabethton needs to get a hold of me and I'm in office hours in Bluffville, right. So I think I'm going to retain online office hours. I think that's something I'm going to keep. And I'm probably, what I've also found myself doing is I've been making extra videos about key, like, let's say MLA formatting. Okay. And I'm just keeping a cache of those now, that when students are like, hey, we have questions about this, if I've already covered it extensively, and they're like, hey, here's a video for that I've already, here you go. Here's a video where I cover that again. There you go. And drop it out there for them. So lots of support pieces, right, and streamlining of materials, being able for students to be able to find what they need in my class, as well as availability. I've used another thing that I've used that I've found useful with my asynchronous classes is I started using an app called Marco Polo, and it's a video chat app, but you're in a group, right? And so for my mythology class, I post a topic of the week, and it's about whatever we're reading that week. And so students pop in at some point during the week. That's how I run my asynchronous, and they answer those questions, right? And other people can respond and hit thumbs up or whatever. And I might pop on and hey, that was a great idea, and they leave those throughout the week, but we can see each other and we can hear each other. And that's been really cool. I may retain that. I like that a lot better than doing traditional discussion boards. I also replaced discussion boards with a learning journal, and that has been a lot more effective for me. So Lots of changes, actually. I know that was a can of worms that you probably feel like you opened now. But I made lots of changes that some of those I'm definitely going to keep. Most of it I'm going to keep.
Yeah, so that sounds like a lot of different tools that kids respond to. Well, I guess students respond to. I mean, do they love the videos? Because we live in such a video-driven medium right now, or I guess a video-driven era. Do students, and I think about because I know you teach mythology, medieval lit. Are you teaching medieval literature now? No. But I know you're heavy into medieval.
Oh yeah.
All things medieval. Oh yes.
All things old. If it's old, I'll take it. Yeah.
But do you find the students really respond to those videos, even if they talk about mythology or whatever the subject matter of that course is? Are students pretty much keyed into videos and that back and forth interaction through either produced videos or video communication?
I think the produced videos, like when I put my lecture out there about the themes and archetypes and whatnot of Medea, let's say the myth of Medea. I think sometimes that's tough. And I always remind them, hey, you can hit the pause button, if you need to take a break. I think sometimes that the quote unquote lecture videos, I think those are challenging because I prefer much more interactive style in class.
Right.
But at the same time, I was like, we've got to have this information, and we're doing it asynchronously. So I think that the lecture videos sometimes are a bit more challenging. Honestly, in my asynchronous classes, that's what I count for attendance, because I'm like, if you're skipping those videos, it's like skipping class because you're missing the content that we would usually cover in the classroom. I think that the Marco Polo, that little app where it's just, hey, just give us your quick answer to this question, which are questions I would ask in class to the whole group. I think that's different because we are interacting. And I think sometimes people are a bit reluctant, but I'll be honest, and this may sound silly, but sometimes when I'm recording my topic of the week video it's just like a minute long, maybe two. When I'm doing my topic of the week or I'm responding to one of them, honestly, I'll show up in no makeup and my hair in a ponytail just to let them know it doesn't matter. That's not what this is about. Be yourself. And so I'll do that just to kind of make them feel more comfortable with the medium. You know what I'm saying? And not always be all ready for public, type thing, hair's done, makeup done, and all that. So I think that the interactive one, they probably respond to better. And I've had some students since the summer go, oh, that was neat to see people. But honestly, I'm not going to fool myself that the videos, the lecture ones, they probably, sometimes I'm like, oh boy, I need to watch my videos. But we got, we need the content. That's just honest,
Sure.
So.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, it is certainly a brave new world we're in, but yeah, the truly good professors will find the way to do it, and we've known each other for a while, and I know you're one of the top ones on this campus by far, and
Okay.
You've always been able to make it happen. Are you ready for our 3-question challenge that we present to all sound barrier guests?
I will do my best.
Fast response, here they come. Okay. Either or, by the way, loyal listeners, if you're keeping score at home. Question number 1, chocolate or caramel?
Oh, chocolate, hands down.
Chocolate. And
dark, preferably dark, 70% or higher. See, there's even an attitude about that. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, milk chocolate is falling out of favor. It's you got to go to the dark now.
I was the kid who wanted the special darks, though. I've been that way the whole time.
The little Hershey things in the little bag that would have Crackle and Mr. Goodbar, they always have the special dark. Oh yes, without a doubt.
Yep.
Love those. Question number 2, Gmail or chainmail?
Oh, I'm going to say chainmail since I've made a chainmail shirt.
You have made a chainmail shirt?
I've made it, yeah. Now it's aluminum rings, but yes, it took me about 250 hours to make a chainmail hauberk. Yes.
Sweet. See, that was a loaded question because, yeah, that is awesome though. You made a chain. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's
Take
nerd
your shirt.
dedication, Tom. That's nerd dedication. That's what that
Yeah, you could
You
you
can't
go
even
into
get over
business doing some
it.
chainmail. I'm already thinking, make me one. I'll send you
Oh,
my
man.
size here.
I'll teach you how to make it.
Okay, sounds good. That could be a video, how to make chainmail. How to make
Seriously, man.
chainmail
It was
vest shirt.
labor of love.
And question number 3, Falcon 9 or Mars rover?
I'm going to go with Falcon 9.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Mars is cool, but I'm kind of like new, let's go to new territory. It's that whole Star Trek attitude,
Absolutely.
Go where we haven't gone before. Let's do it.
Elon Musk, he's that guy's got it going on.
He does.
He takes some heat, but that guy's he's got it going on. I would say Falcon 9 also, just because. Just because. Well, the old clock on the wall is winding it down here, but we want to say thank you, Nona, for joining us today. Thank you for talking to us about international education. And if people want to know about international education, who should they? Can they just email you, call you, get in touch? I know nothing's happening next spring, but
I know.
If they want to,
well, I am your Huckleberry for all things international. Okay, and actually, the best way to reach me is as a simple email. It's easier than dealing with my name. Actually, it's international ed as in education. So it's international ed at northeaststate.edu. Now, the one thing that is going on besides our virtual events is we are recruiting for study abroad for summer 2021. We're crossing our fingers. So if you want information about study abroad, I'm also your go-to person for that. So international ed at northeaststate.edu.
International ed at northeaststate.edu. All right. Email, let's keep our fingers crossed and good things that happen in summer, and we can get past this and get back to doing what we always used to do.
From your lips to God's ear, I'm telling you.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Again, Nona, thank you so much for joining us here on the Sound Barrier. We truly appreciate it. We also want to thank our friends in the Entertainment Technology Department and the Department of Community Relations and Marketing for making this podcast come to life and make these episodes free and clear out there for everybody who wants to listen. You can visit our podcast at thesoundbarrier.net. That's thesoundbarrier.net. Also, northeaststate.edu. northeaststate.edu. That is Northeast State Community College's website. Click on it. Check out some classes. We're registering for the spring 2021 semester right now, or we will be pretty shortly, but, well, you know what I'm saying. We're registering soon, so hit northeaststate.edu, give us a click, and we just might be what you're looking for. Until next time, thank you for listening to The Sound Barrier, and we're signing off for now.